part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. What's going on? This is John Sabol here with Jeremy and Akron, and welcome to Cavs on the Break, an NBA podcast, all part of the Press Play Podcast Network. JIA, what's up, my man? How you been?
John, what is up? Glad to be back. Pumped the Cavs are back on track. Excited to hang out with you for a little bit here, and let's get rolling.
You know, the last time we discussed on the podcast, the Cavs were riding that win streak they just ended their win streak against the Clippers, and then they lost, 4 straight, and then they're now back on a win streak. So I would like to think you and I are the reasons for that.
Yes, exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
We are the reason. Actually, I think the real reason we're back hot is my boy Seti. Seti will, my thing about Seti is he will shoot you into a game or he'll shoot you out of one.
Oh,
but when Seti gets hot, look out, baby.
Your boy.
Seti gets hot.
We are going to get into your boy, Cedi Osman, and what's going on with the Cavs. Let me set the table here for you. Chase Smith and Sam Amico are both out sick tonight, so you're riding solo with us, which is good. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow the pod at Cavs on the Break on Twitter. Follow yours truly at John_Sabol. Jeremy, give me your handle there.
At Jeremy in Akron, JIA, baby.
Follow it. You'll get the latest updates on the episodes, as well as updates from Sam Amico's Amico Hoops and all of our fun tweets as well. Okay, Cavaliers, as we record this here on Tuesday, November 22nd, they are coming off winning their third straight game, beating the Atlanta Hawks 114-102 in a game where really, Cavs are kind of walking wounded. We're going to get into the injuries in a moment here. But, they had this little rematch on their mind from the play-in tournament, Jeremy. And, boy, they didn't disappoint. They came out dropping 38 in the first quarter and pretty much played a complete game. And the game really wasn't that close.
I agree. The Hawks made their run. We, in the third, we came back, buried them, closed out well, which is a question a little bit, I guess, if we can close games. I think they just got to figure out. I think that's kind of a chemistry thing between Mitchell and Garland. But, yeah, I thought they looked great. And, Capella usually gives us big issues for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Thought they defended him well. Murray had a terrible shooting night. But, yeah, overall, they looked great. The ball movement was great. When you get that third guy, when you get Seti, I joke about it, but 2 nights in a row now, Osman has played great. And when you get that kind of third wing guy playing well, it makes us a different team, I think. And we got that.
We did. And, I say the game wasn't close. Atlanta kept it close to the 5-7 points, but towards the end of the game, the Cavs kind of pulled away a little bit, winning by 12 points. But let's talk about that a little bit here. You're talking about, a guy that is the epitome of a streaky shooter in Cedi.
He's so streaky, man.
He's so streaky, but here's the thing. He is coming up right now. He did it against Miami, and he did it against Atlanta. Cavs needed bench support and bench help. And, boy, did he come up and really answer the bell, dropping 23 on Atlanta and 20 on Miami. Now, I'm not saying he's going to keep this up, and I know you aren't going to say that either. But it's refreshing to see that he has this capability to do it. And he's done it in the past, but it's about when he's getting the minutes and he's taking advantage of the time as well. And so, is he a dependable player off the bench for scoring? Long term, my opinion, no. But short term, yeah.
Yes. And I think that coach, and obviously coach knows him way better than we ever will, but coach just has a seat to fill that. When he gets him in the game and he's cold to start with, he's got to know, look, get a quick hook, get him out of there. But when he's hot, ride him, man. Look, I think at one point last night he was 7 for 8. Same thing night before. He was shooting with a ton of confidence. He looked absolutely fantastic. And the one thing, he can get to the rim whenever he wants almost. He's his athleticism is underrated. And he runs the floor. He runs the floor incredibly well. When he's hitting, his shot looks great. It helps to space the floor. He's one of those guys, though, you have to you have to know which setting you have that night and how many minutes and how much you're going to ride him and how many looks you're going to give him.
Well, when the Cavs are healthy, you don't really need to worry about it because they have so many weapons and they have depth. But now that they're hurt and you have LeVert who's out, Love isn't 100% with that fractured thumb. And even though he did play against Atlanta, albeit, only 12 minutes or so.
I think he's like 0 for 4 from the field or something like that.
Yeah.
Clearly bothering him.
Yeah. And you still have guys in there that are not 100%, like Spider. I mean, the legs.
He's nursing an injury,
ankle injury. And obviously Darius and Jared Allen have all had little things as well. I don't know if the injuries are long-term concern. I guess if this is February and we talk about this in the podcast, it could be. But I mean, I don't think it's a concern yet.
No.
Depth, I think, in wing has been the weakness on this team, even with the acquisition of Donovan Mitchell. But when you do have spots right now early in the season, you have Chetty coming up big. And then even Isaac Okoro played really well in that Miami game that you were at. Had 12 first half points, didn't score again, but his defense.
I've never seen a guy get more excited after burying a 3 in a regular season game than he did when he hit that first 3, man. He was fist pumping back down the court. I mean, good for him though. He needs to get that confidence. And I think we talked about it before. You can see Donovan really, constantly in his ear telling, encouraging him, saying, come on, man. Because it's obviously at least part of it with him. Okoro is his confidence.
Yeah, he hit 2 threes that game. And I think it was his first multi 3-point game since like the spring of last year, March or whatever. You need that. I'm still kind of a little bullish on his overall play down the road. You still need to get some more consistent play out of him. And I know we sound like a broken record. We've been talking about it. For over a year now, you, me, and Sam. I know Chase still loves the guy, and I do too. I mean, this is the guy who came in, trying to reinvent his shot in his game to be that spot up corner 3 guy. Was a lockdown defender. He added 10 pounds in the offseason, but you need to get more out of him. And I know Sam has written about this on Amica Hoops, and I know he's talked about this in the podcast, and I know he's tweeted about it, and I know you're going to agree with this, just like I will. For a while there, without the depth injuries, he was playing a lot of minutes, and it almost felt like the Cavs were forcing him out there, and really wasn't paying off in a lot of ways.
No, I agree. It definitely felt like they were trying to force feed him. I think I actually tweeted that out one day. It just, and I think that once they have everybody back and once they get D Wade back, I think he'll play limited minutes, but they're not going to completely eliminate him from the rotation because they do want him to be a player. They want him to be. And there's an argument to be made. They need him. That they need a wing defender, especially in crunch time and games. So they're going to keep him in the rotation, probably limited, to see where it goes from here. I'm of the belief, I'm starting to lean towards they're going to move LeVert at some point because of that expiring deal. There's no shortage of teams this year that are looking to tank because of impressive draft crop coming out this year. So I would not be surprised at all if you see the Cavs start hearing rumblings that they're going to move on from LeVert because they could probably turn him into maybe someone who could shoot and play some defense in the wing.
Well, that's a conversation I think for a different day because we're just so early in the process.
Sure.
And a lot of these guys still can't be traded until mid-December if they were, players that were signed in the offseason.
Yep.
Meaning not LeVert, but other players in the NBA that could be packaged in a deal. And that's usually once you get through that little contractual deadline, I forget what you call it, but once you get the non-tender guys or something, whatever it's called, you get through that. And then the trades usually open up. Right. If anything, minor trades usually happen probably right after Christmas or so. But I kind of agree. I mean, we were so excited for Caris LeVert last year when it happened. It hadn't really, meshed well last year for a number of reasons. Him getting hurt in the first practice back from the All-Star game and then just trying to find his way in JB's system. But you got to give him credit, though. Before his little ankle injury this year, I mean, he had moments. I mean, he dropped 41 against Boston that one time. I mean, he's bought into JB's system. He plays
defense. Hard, and he's playing hard defense. There's no doubt. You can see it. Mm-hmm. A wise basketball guy said to me the other day, though, there's a reason he's been traded from 2 good teams. Mm-hmm. And it's true. I don't know if Indiana's decent. I guess you can call them a good team.
Sure.
He has been moved twice in a 3-year period.
Yeah, Brooklyn, the other one.
he looks sloppy at times. He has no consistency, it feels like. And obviously I like the guy, and you're right. There's times he looks fantastic, but it's just it doesn't feel like a guy you can count on, especially in like a 7-game series to make a
Sure.
big play.
But not
I
only
don't know.
that though, think about this. You have a guy here who's also a great locker room guy. And we talked about too. Like everyone is a great locker room person there. I mean, they've molded this
Oh, yeah,
this roster so well
one
with
million
good
percent. Yep.
characters and also unselfish players. Now, there's sometimes they get in these hero ball situations, but that's a little inexperience in a young team. But my last point on LeVert is this: if you want to entertain a trade right now, I mean, I don't even know what you'd get for him. It's still early,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know what you'd get for him. Second round pick, maybe, if you're lucky.
I think you can get, like I said, you can off one of these teams that's tanking. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. Maybe a Terrence Ross type, just somebody a guy who can play some defense on the wing and hit a three that's on a roster of a team who doesn't want to win. So they can take that expiring contract from LeVert, give them some more ammo in the offseason. If they are to land that prize number 1 pick with Web, I can't even pronounce his name,
Victor Wembanyama or whatever.
Wembanyama, who looks absolutely incredible. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're able to parlay him into something very useful. That's my point there. I could see it happening. We'll see how it plays out. But that's just something I could see happening. And it'd probably just be him and maybe like a second round draft pick type thing for somebody who is not in the future of a team that's going to be rebuilding, but is someone who could help us, especially play defense and shoot.
Well, Sam has written this last year about how the Cavs were really interested in Terrence Ross before the trade deadline.
Yeah, and that's just someone that came to mind as someone who would fit that mold.
Sure.
Of a guy, and that a wing who can do a few things that can help us.
The Cavs and Magic did talk about a trade last year, and it never materialized. He's 31 years old, making $11 million this year, but he's a free agent this summer. So would you trade an expiring deal for an expiring deal?
If to help you now, I mean, why not? And it open and they would be inclined to do it because LeVert makes more, and you can go 80%, so we could add someone that I don't know. I'm just hypothetical.
I know. Yeah, we're not even at Thanksgiving yet. We're already talking trade deadline stuff. But
that's what we do, baby. That's what we do in Cleveland. We love trades and draft picks.
Or if you're talking baseball, we love our prospects.
That's right. 9 of the top 100 the Guardians have, man.
Yeah, or if we're talking football, we love our quarterbacks.
Oh boy,
I know that's a conversation for a different day too.
Different show.
One last thing on the trade front. A guy who has probably increased his trade value a smidge is probably Chetty. I don't know how much. I mean, he still has a year left in the deal, but at any rate, Cavaliers finally break off that losing streak, that 5-game skid, and winning games against the Hornets, the Heat, and the Atlanta Hawks. And so now, as we look into the crystal ball, tomorrow on November 23rd, Cavs are back home playing the Portland Trailblazers, and then they go to Milwaukee on Friday to play the Bucks for the second time in about 10 days. Portland, on the other hand, this is a team that's somewhat hanging around early. I'm surprised they're playing as well as they are. They're 10-7, meaning, they're kind of in a rough, weird spot. Yeah, I mean, they still had Damian Lillard. Anthony Simmons is still there. I mean, he's leading. He's second the team in scoring. They kind of did like Nurkic is still there. Yep. No one was talking about the Blazers being a playoff team out west much. They didn't even do a rebuild, but they doubled down on Lillard, not trading him, but still kind of reloaded with some role guys in a way.
Yeah. And, there's always been the talk that Lillard's not happy, and then he'll kind of play that up a little bit, and then he'll shoot it down. And I mean, obviously he's a talent, and he's a talented individual, but it didn't work with him and CJ McCollum for whatever reason. It looked like they were going to tear it all the way down, but now you're 10-7, and we'll see what they do this year. What worries me about them coming in is Nurkic always gives us problems. Allen always has a little bit of problems with the the big guys, and he usually gives Allen some issues. So we'll see. I think we ultimately win that game, but he does worry me a little bit. And obviously depends on which Dame you get. The Dame Lillard that's hot. Look out. They can beat anybody at any time because there's no stopping Dame when he is on fire. period.
I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I could look them up, but I'll be honest, I'm being a little lazy.
No, actually.
When Nurkic was with the Nuggets, his first 3 years before going to Portland, those first 3 years of the LeBron 2.0. I mean, I just remember games when he caused the Cavs all sorts of problems those 3 years when he was with the Nuggets.
Yeah.
So you're right about that.
Yeah, and he causes Allen issues. Just a big-bodied big men give us a little bit of problems. That's
Here's a question.
Luckily for us, there's not many of those guys left. But
right. Let me ask you this: why do you think those type of players cause us so many issues, especially with Allen?
I think it's just because Allen is the newer big man. He's more athletic guy who can run the court, block shots, but he's maybe 200 pounds soaking wet, and he's and I think he gets bullied a little bit by the bigger big bodied big guys because he's built more to play defense in the new NBA against where he can guard all 5 positions, where they can they can switch on anything, and him and Mobley can kind of hold their own against anybody because they're more athletic bigs. But when you got a traditional 7-footer, 295 pounds, is going to catch it on the block and turn, those guys give Allen some issues just because of that.
Hey, speaking of big man, I got a question for you. Another one about Evan Mobley. There was all this talk of him taking that next step this season. There's been all this talk of him, really jumping to that next tier of a perimeter score, consistently. But through 17 games, I mean, he's been solid. Don't get me wrong. He's playing really well. But through 17 games, I don't see that jump in his game yet. Do you?
Well, here, and I've talked about this, and I've been probably as tough as anybody on him. I'm starting to throw the car in neutral. I think maybe there was more to that ankle injury than we knew, because I noticed this for the first time the Hornets game. It looked like he had those fast hops back. Remember last year, it seemed like he got off the court so fast. And I didn't see that as much early in the year. And then these last few games, I've noticed it again, that he looks quick, and he looks quick off the ground. So maybe there was something to that. So I'm going to give it a few more weeks before I fully, because I think he's had some of his best games in this last week.
Sure.
So I'm going to give it a few more weeks. Yesterday, he didn't get many touches yesterday. They didn't need him to.
Yeah.
And then, but I think that I'm going to reserve judgment on that now. Throw the car in neutral, as I said, and wait and see what happens over these next few weeks. I definitely think he's looked livelier these last few games.
And that's completely fair on your point, and I completely agree, because he also hurt his ankle, right? Like in training camp too.
Right. That's what I mean. So I think that lingered into the season. And Wendy actually said that. When Wendy said there was more to it, Windhurst, then maybe we knew that was maybe he was playing through a little more than we knew.
Now, didn't he also have a what was his injury last year towards the end of the year that was bothering him? Why am I blanking on that?
I think that wasn't that a high ankle as well, but he ended up coming back quicker. He ended up coming back quicker than they originally said last year as well. I think they initially said maybe up to 4 weeks, and he came back after 2.5 or something.
Sure.
Didn't miss as much time as they thought.
Right. That's what it was. And that ankle injury was not as, I don't think, as impactful as the one that he had in camp either.
Yep. Another Cav killer we have to bring up on the Trailblazers is Jeremy Grant. Remember last year against when he was playing for the Pistons, right? He put about 30 on us.
Oh, right.
You remember that game? Yeah. He's another guy that gives us problems, but it's just for, like I said, Nurkic he's listed at 7 foot 290. He's probably 7 foot 310. And he will give I still think we're going to win this game, but I just imagine he'll give us a little bit of problems. That's all. What
I really like to see out of the Cavs going forward here in the next 2 weeks, I really would like for them. I want them to beat up. They beat Boston twice, which was phenomenal early on here.
Oh, and they've only lost 3 times, right? Boston still only has 3 losses, I believe, right?
Yeah. I mean, Boston's 4 losses actually. They just
4 now.
Yeah. They just lost,
but
the other
still,
night to
the fact
Chicago.
that we have 2 of their 4 losses are us.
Sure. But what I'd like Jeremy to see though is you've got a small sample size coming up here in the next week of teams that are going to be tough. Portland, we alluded to Portland. Milwaukee, you're going to get a cupcake game against Detroit. Could be a trap game in the middle of the week, middle of a road trip. Then you got Toronto on the road and then back home against Philly. So by December 1st, I'd love to see how many wins this team can really, put together against 3-4 teams that will be playoff teams that could go deep in, especially Milwaukee and Philly. So that's something to keep your eye on. It is November still, really, 17 games in or so. I'd still like to see them beat up on some of these teams. But the problem is we're still not 100% healthy. I mean, the injuries early on here. Dean Wade.
I haven't even heard. Have you heard an update on Dean Wade?
No, I haven't.
No, neither have I.
I reached out to one of my Cavs guys the other day, and I didn't get anything back. But it's just, man, talk about a guy.
You got Levert out now too, and his was kind of a weird one because he just went in at halftime and didn't come back out, and they just said he had turned it. So,
well, they originally for Dean Wade, they looked at middle of this coming week here to come back originally.
So maybe he'll be back tomorrow.
So maybe we'll be back against the Blazers. But I mean, you're still dealing with Love's day to day with that thumb, Levert's ankle's not there or not ready. Dean Wade's knee, of course. Dylan Windler can't catch a break with that ankle. Oh my goodness, man! At this point, you feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then, of course, Ricky Rubio still, nursing that knee ACL injury that we'll see. Hopefully, he returns sometime next month. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, that's what they said. And I've been seeing. I know. I'm sure you have too. Been catching the videos of him shooting pre-game and working out, and it looks like he's getting at least somewhat close.
Yeah, and I think I was talking to Sam about this a little while ago too. They're taking him very careful because the guy that age with multiple ACL injuries, you just gave him a new contract. There's no way you're rushing him back. So, but can you imagine if this team fully healthy, like we've talked about, what they can do?
Oh man, the ball movement is going to be. I can't wait to see him. I mean, he was like, at the risk of sounding corny, he was like a joy to watch play last year. He was a maestro. I mean, it was just pretty basketball. When he was on the court, that ball never stopped moving. It didn't stick anywhere. It was just fun basketball. And now seeing him, and he obviously has some history with Donovan Mitchell, so he knows his game.
Sure.
And it knows Garland's game now. I'm sure you'll see what you've seen now a bunch. You'll see a lot of Garland and Mitchell starting out, Garland going out early, Rubio playing with Mitchell, Mitchell going out, Garland coming in playing with Rubio. You'll see a lot of that, those three rotating at guards, and I'm excited for it. I can't wait. I really can't.
It'll be exciting. It'll be fun. Love to see what they can do here. All right, let's take a break here on Cavs on the Break, right here on the Press Play Podcast. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with a Cavs trivia question, and we're going to check in on a pair of former Cavaliers that are currently playing in Utah. We'll be back.
Ohio, listen, I have some great news for you. DrafKings Sportsbook is coming to the Buckeye State, and Press Play Podcast has sponsored with them to help you get the most bang for your buck. And it won't be long until you can bet on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home. To celebrate, all new customers will receive $200 in free bets when you sign up today using our promo code P3Cavs. That's capital P, the number 3, capital C, capital A, capital V, capital S, P3Cavs. Plus, 5 lucky customers will win a $100,000 free bet. You heard that right, $100,000 free bet. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you, right now, if you sign up for free, $200 in free bets just for signing up with our promo code, no deposit required, and you'll be entered to win a $100,000 free bet when you sign up. I just did it. It is super simple. It's easy. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, wherever you get your apps on your phone. It is the best. You'll receive that $200 in your account the moment sports betting becomes legal in Ohio, looking like January 1st. You don't want to miss out on this incredible offer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966, 21 years, ages, and older. You have to be physically present in Ohio. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Subject to regulatory license requirements. 1 entry per customer. $200 will be issued as 8 $25 free bets. No purchase necessary for sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. Ends the first day DraftKings is allowed to operate in Ohio. See terms at dkng.co/OH. Hey, this is Chase Smith, and I'm here to tell you about our wonderful longtime friends over at Aligned Health Center. Did you know Aligned Health Center is the first and only chiropractic biophysics clinic in Northern Ohio? There is no other chiropractic clinic in the area that does what Aligned Health Center does. Let me tell you all about them. And I should know, I just went to them last month and they were incredible. From the welcome staff to the technicians and the doctors, it was an incredible experience, and I know you're going to enjoy your time there. Chiropractic biophysics is a technique that actually reshapes the spine and restores it to its original correct position. At most chiropractors you go in, you just get an adjustment and you're left with that short-term relief, but it's not actually fixing the underlying structural issues. But at Aligned Health Center, they actually aim to correct the structural issues and provide long-term relief to their patients. I'm talking about back pain, neck pain, migraines, ADHD, digestive issues, sleep disturbance, whiplash, scoliosis, and knee pain. Yes, that's right. They can even help correct lifelong knee pain. And it gets better. They're opening a huge, brand new state-of-the-art facility in Westlake. It's going to look so nice. I saw the floor plans. It looks incredible. You're going to love it. And in addition to chiropractic biophysics, they also offer regenerative medicine, which is a way to help rebuild cartilage in various joints and help reduce pain in places like knees, shoulders, wrists, and even your lower back. You can check them out online at alignedhealthcenters.com. That's Aligned Health Centers with an S, alignedhealthcenters.com, or call at 440-385-7357. Again, that's 440-385-7357 to schedule your exam. We will put the website and the phone number in the show notes of this episode.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sabol.
And I'm Scott Sabol, and we're hosts of the Sabol Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sabol Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
The R&R podcast going to be rocking and rolling with you because football season is underway. College, Ohio State, the Power Fives, the MAC, the Browns. Michael Regai, are you ready to rock and roll with some football?
Kenny, I've been ready. This is our time of year. This is what R&R is all about. We're going to be with you every week. Kenny just said it. Browns, NFL, Ohio State centric. So you got to stay with us all fall and winter long here on R&R.
That's right. The Regai and Rhoda podcast coming to you here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Subscribe now and don't miss a show.
What's up, everyone? Chase Smith here, host of the Chase Smith Podcast, and my podcast reflects who I am. My hobbies, my interests, my passions, my curiosities, my careers, my questions, and my family. I'll spend time talking about all types of sports, movies, TV shows, trending news stories, and other cultural events, and even faith. This is who I am, and I hope I can get to know you as well. Join me on the Chase Smith Podcast, and let's have some thought-provoking conversations, only on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, welcome back, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Thanks for sticking with us here. John Sabol alongside JIA, Jeremy and Akron. All right, we touched on some of the Cavaliers' injury front problems there, the schedule ahead, what's happened in the past. And speaking of the past, Jeremy, two guys that Cavs traded away for Donovan Mitchell. One of them is absolutely tearing it up, and the other one is doing what I always thought he was going to do, be a six-man off a bench, averaging about 13 a game. Of course, we're talking about Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton. Have you checked out any of their games at all?
I have. I've watched a little, and like you said, Lauri's looked absolutely fantastic. I think he's averaging 22 points, shooting 54% from the field so far this year, just under 40% from three, having a phenomenal year. I mean, you know, and it's not, and I think his last three games, he had a 38-point game against Phoenix in a win on Friday. So the guy is playing some good ball.
And you know what? We kind of saw this coming because you saw a little career resurgence from Markkanen last year with the Cavs. And boy, was he disappointed when he got traded to Utah. Wanted to be here, loved playing here. But then when, he went out back home to Europe, for the EuroLeague this summer, that's when you really saw everything change for him. It's a different game, obviously, right? But he was just killing it. And man, he was playing really, really well. And so you look back at what happened with the Cavs, what he did in the EuroLeague, and then now in Utah. I'm not going to say I'm surprised, because really I'm not that surprised. This is what Chicago thought they were getting from him when they drafted him in 2017. Or excuse me, I should say Minnesota drafted him, but Chicago traded for him. But that's the guy that they were thinking about getting. You could probably nail down a couple of reasons why he wasn't being utilized there, multiple coaches, yada, yada, yada. But I'm glad to see him, continue to improve his game and take advantage.
This is what's crazy, John. So he's only playing 2 more minutes a game from what he has his career. His career field goal percentage is 44%, 53.9 so far this year.
Yeah, that's
his
insane.
Rebounds 6.8 for his career, up to 8.5 for this year.
Yeah.
Assists 1.3, almost doubled that, 2.5. So the guy, just all the way around, his game is improved dramatically.
Yeah, it's insane.
Career scoring average 15.8, 22.5 this year.
Well, if he keeps this up, he's got to be an all-star.
There's no doubt.
It has to be. All right, let's talk about Colin Sexton. And I like the guy. I've been harsh on him before, and we won't spend a lot of time on this. But Colin Sexton's a polarizing player in Cavs fans' lore. He is the equivalent of Baker Mayfield. You had Baker Bros, and I call
that's such a good comparison.
And I call those Baker Bros that love Colin. I call them Colin's kids. They were so adamant about him being a star, and he was the guy to be drafted that time. He was, he helped the Cavaliers franchise out quite a bit. Good kid, hard worker.
Yeah. Exactly.
Did everything.
That's what everyone said. Gym rat, said he didn't go out at all. He's just always in the gym. Good kid,
professional, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But when you put other players around you that are better, you're going to show your weaknesses, unfortunately, and that goes for anybody. Yeah. And for him, you kind of saw it last year when Darius Garland took that big step, and then they obviously traded him. But now you see who he was, what many people thought. A lot of scouts, a lot of analysts, a lot of reporters, podcast people like us, we've been saying, is that this is a guy who is probably not the best in a starting spot on a team that is, really playoff type team, even though Cavs weren't a playoff team last year, but a team that has a lot of help and a lot of scoring. And look what happened right now in Utah, Jeremy. He's coming off the bench. He's played 19 games and he's only started in 2 of them. And, his career average is dropped significantly because of that. He's averaged about 13 a game. But it seems like he's buying into that and he's thriving that way. And that's good to see as well.
Yeah. I always thought he was like a Vinny the Microwave Johnson type guy, like instant offense off the bench. When he's hot, you bring him in, you let him go, score some points, limited, 8-9 minute stretches, pull him back out. I thought that was like his role. I don't think he wanted that to be his role here, at least. But I think, and I think there was definitely some contract envy with that Garland contract. He wanted more than the Cavs were willing to give him. And, hey, this could end up being one of those occasions, though, John, where both teams won this trade, right? Yep. Works out great for both teams, and that's good. That's a good thing. There's no, it's work. It's when those kind of deals happen, that's a win, because nobody disliked Colin here, and no one disliked Laurie here. They were great guys. Right. So the fact that they're going out there thriving, it's working out well for us, is great. But the one thing I do got to laugh at, and I still see some of this from the really, really hard-headed people on Twitter that are saying that Colin can do everything that Donovan can. Now, come on.
Yeah, when people say that,
and there's still some of that. I mean, watch, my eyeballs can tell me the difference. It doesn't take John Wooden to see the difference between Donovan Mitchell and Colin Sexton.
Yeah, Jeremy, when people say that, it's just they're trying to prove a point, even though they're walking with blinders on and they're delusional. I mean, it's the same fans that are saying right now, well, everyone thought Baker Mayfield was a problem with the Browns. No, it's 2 different things. This year it's the defense. The defense was great last year for the Browns, and the quarterback play was absolutely horrible. So, and look what he's not doing anything in Carolina. He just got benched again. So whatever. But that's why they're called fans. Fans are fanatics.
Yep.
And fans need to put the bottle down and realize what's going on here.
One of the big differences, if you watch them play, is Donovan always looks in control. He gets where he wants to on the court. They're not even similar players really when you watch them play. It's
Two
just
different players.
It's just not. But yeah, I mean, Donovan has been absolutely fantastic for us. Laurie's been good for them. It worked out well. But the people that still say that Colin can do everything Donovan can for less money, give me a break. Come on.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's just being silly. But I'm happy for both those guys that they're thriving
Absolutely.
out there. And you hit the nail right on the head. This is a trade that's helping both people out right now. And real quick, before I get to my trivia question, my last Jazz point, I know a few people that I work with at Fox State were talking to me. They're like, hey, whatever happened to that guy the Cavs drafted that they threw in that trade? The guy I can't pronounce. I'm like, oh, you're talking about Ochai Agbaji. Yeah, the rookie out of Kansas, who was a guy the Cavs were somewhat high on. Yeah, not really because they traded him, but they didn't really want to take that pick anyways. But they said all the right things, and he's a good kid. Good. Very mature beyond his years. He's played in 6 games this year for Utah.
Yeah, he's
only averaging 3.3, so he's not doing anything.
No.
And not to say he won't down the road, but this is what you were going to get with this Cavs team too. Is the production, if not less. So, think about that.
He's been DNP CD quite a few times this year. Did not play coach's decision. So
yeah,
that's and a lot of people on him even were delusional. They thought he was going to be a guy that could step right in and help us take the next step, and that's just not reality.
That's not how things work. Okay, so my trivia question this week, every time when you and I are doing the podcast, if Sam and Chase aren't with us, I try to spice it up a little bit with a random Cavs trivia question. So this one isn't about an anniversary of today. It was maybe a 25th anniversary, Jeremy, of a Cavs moment from November 11th, 1997.
Okay.
All right. I remember this game like it was yesterday. I remember watching this game in my parents' family room and just going nuts. All right. Let me just tell you what happened. I won't tell you what happened, but I'm just going to tell you, who's on that team, right? This is when Mike Fratello's, first time, with this reloaded team, Sean Kemp, rookies, Brevin Knight, Cedric Henderson, Derek Anderson. And in this game,
Vitaly Potampico, I think, was on that roster.
Ogauskas was there too. So in this game, the Cavs did something that they rarely ever did in their franchise history.
Okay.
And this team that they beat, they beat them handedly. Probably one of the best games a poor Cavs team has ever played. Now, I'm beating around the bush and being vague on purpose because it would give it away. But I want to give you the guys' numbers real quick on this game. All right. The Cavs, that team, in our listeners there right now probably don't remember this, or if they don't, they're too young or weren't born yet. But the Cavs played 4 rookies that year that were consistent starters or players that were, just, impactful players, which is kind of unheard of in the NBA nowadays, right?
That was Cedric Henderson, Brevin Knight, Derek Anderson, and Z, right?
And Z, yes. Yep. The Cavaliers on that team, by the way, let me give you one more other person on that team that might, I don't know if it'd give it away.
I love Brevin Knight, by the way. I love
Brevin Knight too.
He was so quick, and he was such a good defensive point guard. It's just
one of my all-time favorite Cavaliers, but I'd say one of the most forgotten Cavaliers players in some of those lean years was Wesley Person.
Oh, dude, can shoot the lights out.
So,
I think I know where we're going with this.
All right, give me. I haven't even given you any clues. I'm just kind of. I'm giving you like the perimeter stuff, but go ahead.
Well, is this the Wesley Person where he set the franchise record for 3-pointers in the game?
No. In fact, no, he only attempted 4 threes that game.
Okay.
He had 17 points. Sean Kemp had 21. Brevin Knight had 10. Anyways, it's kind of hard to really tell you how this happened or what made this impressive besides who they played and what they did. And you rarely saw this. They blew them out. So This is the 25th anniversary of a team with 4 rookies that got consistent minutes, blew out Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Do you remember that game?
For some reason, I do not remember it.
They won 101-80 against the defending NBA champs. That happened 25 years ago, 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Wow. That season was actually fun, I thought. That 97 season was fun because we had Sean Kemp before he got too fat to play. You had all these rookies around him. You had Derek Anderson, who had played at Kentucky and Ohio State, who was, it actually got a Jordan shoe deal. I remember it was a big deal at the time. He was actually one of Jordan's athletes when he first came out. You had Brevin Knight. You had Z before a lot of his foot injuries, so he still looked quick for a big man. When you see some of those early Zydrunas Ilgauskas videos, you cannot believe how well he moves, how fluid he was before surgery, after surgery, after surgery on his foot.
Yeah.
Cedric Henderson came out of nowhere, 2nd-round pick, who started the year coming off the bench. And he was a slasher who would dunk, could shoot a little bit. That was a fun team. They won 47 games.
Yeah, Danny Ferry
still
was
on that team.
Yep.
Yeah, Danny Ferry, who was almost like a Kevin Love-esque role maybe at that point in his career. Not obviously not as good as Kevin, but that was a fun team that I enjoyed thoroughly as a kid.
So here's the interesting thing about that. I bring this game up because I thought I saw this recently from a tweet about that game, and there are these highlights, and I can text you the highlights of this link of this game, and it was like the Cavs were the Toon Squad and the Bulls were,
the monsters.
I mean, they manhandled the Bulls, and it was such a big game because the Cavaliers they beat the Bulls every once in a while, but they never blew them out by 21 points in a game that was never close. And here's the factor. Jordan had a horrible game. People like to think Jordan never had bad games. Yes, he did. He shot 7 of 17 from the field that game and had only 19 points and turned the ball over 3 times. And only attempted 1 3. Kids, yes, back in those days, 3 balls were not a thing. Jordan was never a 3-point shooter, and there weren't many of them back then.
Until he hit the 6 in the champion. Remember that? What a big deal that was when he hit 6.
That was huge. Yeah. And that's why I will die on this hill that if Mark Price were playing in this league right now, he would probably be averaging 30 points a game, if not more.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
I brought that up to him one day, and he completely agreed with me. But anyways, it was a fun little game here. But I will say this: Scottie Pippen did not play in that game for whatever reason. I don't know why. And the Bulls went on to win the NBA title.
69 games. They won 69 games. They were 69-13 that year.
Yeah, and get this: they started 4-3 that year, and the Cavs handed them their 3rd loss on November 11th, 1997.
Crazy.
I know. It's
crazy stuff. It
is crazy. All right. Well.
Oh man. I loved Brevin Knight, Derek, that whole group, man. That was it ended up being like we thought they were like the future of the NBA, and that obviously didn't pan out. But that was just a fun group and a fun year.
Yeah. You know who else was on that Chicago team? Ron Harper.
Yeah, I did know that.
Yeah.
Ron Harper, who got traded for here because isn't that something that the Cavs traded Ron Harper because they thought he was hanging around with too squirrely a crew.
Well.
There's still Cavs. There's still Cavs. The old time Cavs fans that will tell you if they would have kept Ron Harper, they beat Jordan. And the Bulls in some of those games.
Mark Price and Craig Elo basically told me that.
They think that as well.
Yeah, I had them on the podcast with my brother, on our Sabol Brothers the Baseline podcast last year, and they've said that hey, if Ron Harper isn't traded, we win at least 1. Maybe 2 against Chicago. I mean, that was the missing link.
Yeah.
The Cavs botched that whole thing. And I think that was Wayne Embry, the GM at the time, who was a phenomenal general manager. That was his biggest regret in his career.
Right. But remember that people thought Danny Ferry was the next Larry Bird.
And you know what? Think about this. There's a story with Danny Ferry that Danny Ferry had hurt his knee in Europe playing after he left college before coming to the NBA. He hurt it playing in Italy and was not 100%.
Because he refused to play for the Clippers.
Correct.
And so he went to Italy.
Yep. And he hurt his knee and he played on it. And they never really did the correct testing, and he was overseas and all this other stuff. And so he was never the player everyone thought he was. And people credit that knee injury as being one of the reasons why. So anyways, what are you going to do? But look, remember the Last Dance documentary, Jordan and them basically admitted that whole thing too, that if the Cavs didn't trade Ron Harper, they wouldn't have had the success that they had, So,
yeah.
But man, ifs and buts, right?
Candy
like
and nuts,
sports.
then every day would be Christmas, my friend.
There you go, buddy. All right, man. This has been a fun conversation. I love bringing up like a little fun trivia and reminiscing of the past a little bit, as well as talking about the current Cavaliers team. We want to thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Follow the pod at Cavs on the Break. Follow me, John_Sabol. Jeremy, go.
At Jeremy in Akron. And I promise you will not regret following me. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy is like the cornucopia of sports and world takes on Twitter.
Whatever you want, and nothing controversial anymore. No, just come on and have some fun. It's a blast.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I like seeing your little banter back and forth with some people. It's good time. So, all right, next time we chat, hopefully the Cavaliers can put together some more wins. And we're back here chasing Sam. Jeremy, you may be back next week with them. I may join as well. If not, we'll see you in 2 weeks, my man. It was fun. And again, thank you for listening, everyone. Go Cavs.
Let's go. Go Cavs.
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.